A very good evening to all our viewers who've been waiting patiently for this broadcast. We've got a very special guest coming up. Satish Maneshinde, Rhea Chakraborty's lawyer, will be joining us in less than a minute from now. This on a day when Rhea Chakraborty has walked out of jail after 28 days in custody. Many people believe that she has been a victim of extreme misogyny and of a very, very unfair media trial. Is the worst over for her? We already have Sushant Singh's lawyer Vikas Singh raising all manners of questions today. Let's bring on the program now straight away Satish Maneshinde, who, as I said, it's a big day for him. Congratulations. You've been waiting for this day, Satish, for a very long time. Your first reactions to the big development today?
I am very delighted with the judgment of the Honorable High Court. The judge has considered all our arguments, particularly that she was not found in possession, particularly she was not dealing in any commercial activity. She was not found at all of either financing or harboring as required under Section 27A of the NDPS Act. Apart from that, the judge has held that how can a person, if she is procuring drugs at worst for the sake of a person who consumed drugs, and if he would be given uh, uh, immunity under the law, how can the law give a harsher punishment to an abetter of such an offense? Apart from all this, there is no material to say that she paid anything more than 27,000 for the drugs, if at all we accept the prosecution case. And I feel that the finding of the learned judge, though that these offenses under the NDPS Act are non-bailable, it's in generality. As far as Riya's facts are concerned, she was accused of only a small quantity, and even when a small quantity is involved, it is a discretion of the court. Everyone should realize that now it is not a matter of right for a person to go and claim bail. You can still be sent to custody, but it is ultimately the discretion of the judiciary.
Okay, now I'm going to walk our audience through the key findings of the judgment, Satish, and I'm going to ask you to keep talking over them. One of the things that the judge found was that this money did not amount to a financial transaction, because the judge very clearly said that a financial transaction actually means running or sustaining an operation. And also, of course, Satish Maneshinde, the judge went on to say that this could not then be construed as any sort of commercial contraband. Will you talk a little bit about the significance of this?
Well, under the NDPS Act, first of all, when it was brought into 1985, all offences were punishable with more than 5 years. So the minimum punishment that was available under the NDPS Act was 5 years. After it came to be known to the Parliament that the law was being misused by various persons, the Parliament amended the law in 2001 to say that people who are found in small quantities, because there is a schedule to the NDPS Act which tells you as to what a commercial quantity and what a small quantity is. If your
Yeah.
person is found in a small quantity of that specific drug, for example, in case of ganja, it is 1,000 grams. In case of hashish, it is about 100 grams. In case of charas, it is something else. In case of LSD, it's zero point 0.1 grams. So therefore, if people are found with less than that quantity, they could be punished at the maximum for a period of 1 year, which can come down to even 6 months and a fine of 1 lakh rupees. Other punishments are awarded at a cost of more than 10 to 20 years. If there's a repeat offender, he is likely to be sent to death, sent to the gallows if he has been convicted for a similar offense. For example, under Section 19, 24, and 27A, offenses are of much more serious nature or in the nature of commercial quantities. Commercial quantities are huge amounts which are necessarily found with drug cartels and people who indulge in illicit narcotic traffic. Therefore,
Right.
with a view to internationally come to an understanding that the punishments must be harsher for international traffickers, the United Nations in 1988 and 1989 requested the countries to bring in 27A into our act, which are defined in various other sections internationally, so that international trafficking could come to a standstill or could be dealt with seriously. as far as addicts and other people are concerned who deal like small drug peddlers who make 10 to 20,000 rupees over a month, they could be found for a lesser offense, and therefore it does not mean that just because smaller quantities are punishable with less than 1 year, people should indulge in narcotics.
Right. Now, Satish Maneshinde, there are comments and questions coming for you, and one of them says her only crime, that's Riya's, was that she loved a man who was into drugs and then committed suicide. How much of your case has been bolstered also by the All India Medical Institute report that has now clearly said that Mr. Sushant Singh Rajput committed suicide?
See, first of all, I have not seen that report. It is only in the media, and people are talking about it because some portions of it have been leaked.
Yeah.
As and when the CBI comes to a conclusion as to what the findings are, and if it accepts the AIMS report, I'll be happy about it. But I can tell you only one thing, that the condition in which the body of Sushant Singh Rajput was found, the Bombay police, which investigated the case, came to a conclusion that it was a suicide. Cooper Hospital, which conducted investigations, came to a conclusion that he died of asphyxia, which was caused due to hanging. And the Home Minister of Maharashtra made a statement, Mr. Anil Deshmukh made a statement that there is no foul play in the death of Sushant Singh Rajput because the viscera did not find any poisonous material in the organs that were examined. Therefore, there was no foul play being found in the death of Sushant Singh Rajput by one agency, that's the Mumbai police. The Supreme Court conducted a hearing, full-fledged hearing, and
Yeah.
accepted the report of the Mumbai police and came to a finding that there are no mala-fides on the part of Mumbai police. Therefore, the AIMS report could not be anything different from that, but only as and when officially statement is made by the CBI, I'll be able to react on it. But there is no connection between the AIMS report and the NCB case because both of them are different sections of law that are being investigated.
Now, Danish Sheikh, one of our viewers, has a question for you saying, why was her brother, Rhea Chakraborty's brother, not granted bail? I feel bad for him. Why, Mr. Maneshinde, did the same principle not apply to her brother?
Well, as far as Riya is concerned, the allegation was that she had dealt with the finance of 27,000 rupees to purchase narcotics or to accept delivery for and on behalf of Sushant Singh Rajput. Sushant Singh Rajput was such a clever addict that he personally did not pick up any material or speak to any of the drug peddlers to pick up material for his drug habits. He used all his servants and girlfriends and friends for the purpose of for foraying his habits of drug addiction. Whereas the allegation against Shovik was that the allegation was that he is connected indirectly with other people who are dealing in commercial quantity. So therefore,
Yeah.
the learned judge, for whatever reasons, he has differentiated these two cases of Sushant Singh Rajput's girlfriend and her brother.
Do you feel now, because you just called Sushant Singh Rajput a clever drug addict, do you feel that he used or exploited his girlfriend?
The NCB case itself, in writing, says that the only consumer of Sushant Singh Rajput, the NCB also said that he used his servants to procure drugs to make his ganja joints and keep them in the room. The allegation against Rhea Chakraborty is that she and Sushant Singh Rajput were dealing in procuring drugs for his habit. So therefore, it is very clear that the mobile instrument of Sushant Singh Rajput till today has not been investigated or till today not placed before the court, nor is it in public arena to come to a conclusion that he sent any messages from his own mobile to further his drug habits. He was the only drug addict in the house. There is no other drug addict. The drugs which were delivered in his house never left his house to go to somebody else. And apart from all that, uh, I have made an allegation in my bail application, which the learned judge has accepted at the time of granting bail, that Sushant Singh Rajput was not habituated to drugs only when Rhea Chakraborty met him. He was habituated to drugs much earlier. So he had at least 2 to 3 girlfriends before he met Rhea Chakraborty. And you know that some of them have been called to the police station. His co-stars have been called to the NCB and they have been investigated. So you must further your case with the NCB to ask them if they have collected any material from those girlfriends.
So Sushant Singh Rajput for Rhea Chakraborty today has gone from being the man she loved once to being the man who used her and made her end up in jail.
That is the case of the NCB.
What is your case?
My case is that whatever she did it for a man who was in love with her. She gave herself 100% as much as a wife would do. So it's for the public to see what he has done.
Okay. Now, you said that there is no connection, Satish, between the two cases. The NCB, the drugs use is a separate case. Sushant Singh's death is a different case. But Mr. Sushant Singh's lawyer, Vikas Singh, today tried to find a connection between the two cases. He said that while he thought that the Narcotics Bureau case was weak, and I'm quoting him verbatim, he said the real question is, did Riya give drugs to Sushant without his knowledge? Now, I'm just quoting Vikas Singh here. It's not what I think. I think a grown man is responsible for his own choices. But this is the question that Sushant Singh's lawyer has asked. So therefore, is the worst over for your client, or will you still find that Mr. Sushant Singh Rajput's family and his lawyer will try and blame Rhea Chakraborty for Sushant Singh Rajput's drug habit?
Well, one thing is for certain. I have learned right from my childhood that empty vessels make more noise. So you must realize who is making more noise now. Apart from all that, Sushant Singh Rajput was not a thumb-sucking child. He was a 34-year-old grown-up man who was used to drugs much earlier before Rhea Chakraborty came in his life. He himself used to tell his servants to make ganja joints for him. And it cannot be said that Rhea Chakraborty ever gave him any drugs. Apart from all that, the doctors who prescribed medicinal drugs, pharmaceutical drugs to him for the purpose of his mental health had warned him not to consume any narcotic substances. In spite of that, in spite of the written instructions from the doctors, in spite of being told a number of times, he chose to consume drugs along with his medicines. At some time, he even gave up his medicinal drugs which were being prescribed by the doctors. And to such an extent, on the 8th of June, the cause for Riya to quit the house was because Sushant Singh told her to get out. Because when Rhea Chakraborty came to know that he was messaging with his sister for the purpose of getting some prescriptions from doctors who were not consulting him, she put her foot down and told him that there is a prescription given to you by doctors in Bombay. Why don't you follow that advice? In spite of that, he fought with her and told his sister to send a prescription from Delhi. His sister got a bogus prescription from Delhi from one of the hospitals, Ram Manohar Loya Hospital, and gave it to him. And that doctor is a physician or a surgeon and prescribed drugs because these drugs are scheduled drugs under the NDPS Act. Only a qualified person who is authorized to give mental health drugs can prescribe them. And they made a bogus document to say that Sushant Singh Rajput was being treated as an outpatient department, and therefore his presence was shown in Delhi when he was in Bombay during the pandemic, and sent a bogus prescription. So Rhea Chakraborty has filed a complaint that because of the cocktail of the illegally administered drugs and the narcotic substances that he was consuming, the death was caused. So it is the sisters who need to be investigated and not Rhea Chakraborty.
I asked you this the last time you were on our channel Mojo, Satish, and you said, I'll first get Riya out on bail and then I'll answer this question. Now is the time for this question, and it's coming from our audience. Will you be suing all the TRP channels for character defamation of Riya?
Well, the first thing is that Riya is out now. She's still facing one more case. that is the CBI investigations. ED has almost cleared her because they said that they conducted a forensic audit of the accounts and they have not found any illegal misappropriation of any funds from the accounts of Sushant Singh Rajput. So once this case, Sushant Singh Rajput's death has been solved, she will take appropriate action against all these goons. Sorry to have
Elaborate
called your
on
brothers goons.
I have no solidarity in this particular case with I don't even call them journalists. So you're free to call them what you want to, because as a woman I feel very strongly that she's been absolutely vilified. And I remember by contrast male stars like Fardeen Khan who were picked up for cocaine, they made bail in 5 days. Now
Yes.
there are persistent questions about the role of the media, and you've called them goons and you said I'll take action against them. What action are you thinking? Because Gurdeep Singh is
Well,
saying, Maneshinde, you should have taken the media and made it a party in the court. Why didn't you do that?
Well, I had made them a party. I had made an allegation against them in the Supreme Court. The learned judge who transferred the case, who accorded sanction for the CBI investigation uh, from Patna to CBI, did not
Yeah.
even utter a word. I hope someday some judge will take up my cause and deliver justice to us.
Tell me what you think about politics, the political backdrop, the Mumbai police being attacked today, the Mumbai police chief saying, I'm being vindicated, the Bihar DGP leaving to participate in elections. How much of what's going on, in your opinion, is political?
Well, you see, when I was in school, I was taught that politics is the last resort of scoundrels. So I feel the present political system is made up of scoundrels who use bogus claims, who use bogus allegations to further their political ambitions. For example, if you see, can anybody use the death of a person in a city like Bombay, in a far off place like Patna, and make it an election issue? Can somebody put a poster on their walls to say that we are fighting for your justice? Is it something accepted in a normal society, in a moralistic society? It's hitting below the belt, and they are using the family of Sushant Singh Rajput to further their political ends. And I'm sure someday the voter will give them a proper answer.
Now, we have 3-4 minutes left with you, and therefore, let me ask you and use this well to say, what do you think is the challenge ahead? Because the politics you refer to still remains alive. The agencies that you spoke about in your statement are still on her tail. And the fact is that Mr. Sushant Singh Rajput's family is still targeting her. Do you think Rhea Chakraborty has basically become a pawn for men in her life? On the one hand, Sushant Singh Rajput, the man she had a relationship with. On the other hand, her brother. And I ask this because her brother has not got bail, and you are also suggesting that her brother's role may have been different.
Well, right from the inception of mankind, particularly in India,
Yeah.
a woman has been treated unfairly in India. She has been treated as a weaker section in the society. It's only now that women have come up and fought their battles with the male-dominated society. If you look at the case in UP, if you look at case in Mumbai where Rhea Chakraborty is facing, the treatment is almost similar. The effect may be different. If they kill that poor girl after committing rape on her, allegedly, this has happened in a large number of cases. But as far as Rhea Chakraborty is concerned, you're flogging her in her lifetime. Is it justice? And can you see the media channels going after her? If
Can
a man
you?
is arrested for drugs, he
Yeah.
is glorified. He is celebrated as a person who has given up drugs in life. If a lady, if she dances on the street in a movie, her dancing pictures or poses or actions became a point of ridicule on the TV screens. Is it
Yeah.
something that is acceptable in a moralistic society, that you treat a woman so badly? She could be somebody's sister, she could be somebody's mother, she could be somebody's daughter. Will you do the same thing with your own female members in your own family?
Yeah. So I have two questions for you, and I have 1 minute left, so I'm going to ask them together. Danish Sheikh asks, there's still the abetment to suicide case. How concerned are you about that? And my question is, how is Rhea Chakraborty? What was the first thing she said to you when she walked out? How would you describe her mental condition? Is she remaining strong? Did you worry that she might break down? So take both of these together.
I have never seen a stronger woman in my life. That must give you the full answer. Moment I met her, because she could not hug me because she was far away, and because of the pandemic, we kept a distance from each other. And she was longing to meet me. She was longing to touch my feet. She was longing to hug me. She was longing to, be near me and speak to me of her experience in jail. And she said, "Sir, the first thing that I'm going to do after meeting my parents is prepare myself for the next fight." She is a tigress. She is a Bengali girl. She is a Maharashtrian girl, a mixture of a Bengali and a Maharashtrian family. And therefore, she'll fight it out. She'll fight for justice. She'll fight for her honor. And she'll teach every Tom, Dick, and Harry a lesson in her life.
And are you concerned about the abetment to suicide dimension?
I'm not at all concerned because from the 8th to the 14th, she was not residing in the house of Sushant Singh Rajput, number one. Secondly, in any abatement of suicide, you need a proximate connection between the person and the incident and the cause of death. Here, it is not even something where she goaded him. She not even abated him. She not even went near him. There was no contact from the 8th to the 14th between Sushant Singh Rajput and her. That's the best thing that has happened to her. And I'm sure that the abatement of suicide, as far as she's concerned, will fall flat.
Okay, Satish, Maneshinde, you're a man much in demand today, back-to-back demands from various shows. So I'm going to stick to my promise and let you go on time. Congratulations.
Thank you so much.
It's a big development. Thank you, Satish. We'll have you back on soon on the motor story. We'll let you go now. Mr. Maneshinde, the lawyer there for Rhea Chakraborty, saying she's a tigress. He's never met a stronger woman. Thank you to our audience for tuning in. I know many questions are coming. I'll let Satish actually go now so that he can get on and join the next show. Thank you very much, Mr. Maneshinde, again. And what I'm going to do is, before we end this broadcast, I will take you all through the key points of the judgment today. The court actually found that there was no evidence to say that Riya was part of any chain of drug dealers, that the money that she paid to buy Sushant Singh Rajput, a small quantity of drugs, could not be called a financial operation because she was not actually sustaining it or running a big operation. It went on to say that there was no evidence, prima facie evidence of any commercial dimension, trading in drugs and so on. And then the judge very importantly said that the investigation of the Narcotics Bureau had not revealed any physical recovery of drugs from Rhea Chakraborty. The drugs had already been consumed. And finally, the judge ruled that she is not part of the chain of drug dealers. Now, a very important message that went out to the TV channels who have been following a certain agenda on this story is that a celebrity cannot be punished for merely being a celebrity. The judge said a celebrity does not incur any special liability. Well, it's almost 9 o'clock. That is the end of our broadcast today. Thank you for tuning in. We wish we could have kept Mr. Maneshinde longer, but he's very much the newsmaker today, so he's in high demand. We'll be back tomorrow with another very special broadcast on a key issue of the day. Thank you for watching.